Hi, I'm Rachel Abbasi. Welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. As always, thanks for spending time with me. Hello, we're doing it again. We are exercising during our episode. So, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm super sore from getting in and out of that chair yesterday. I don't know about you, but I was talking to my psychiatrist this morning and I said, I had a brilliant idea how I can get into exercise. I'm going to do my exercises while I podcast. And she looked at me like, uh, and I explained to her like the commitment to my podcast and like maybe I can be committed to exercise if I do them together. And I said, it's also challenging my ability to do two things at once. And she was just looking at me like, I don't know. But she said, if you're enjoying it, why not? So I said, that's still up for debate if I'm enjoying it or not. But I have to say, I enjoy doing something new. And it's kind of fun. I did get feedback from one listener so far that she also joined me in the exercises and is sore today. So that's our goal here to help one person. And that's what I did. I helped one person, hopefully more. So if you are exercising with me, leave a comment in the comments of the episode. I would love to hear that somebody else is doing this with me. But if not, that's fine. I'm also going to talk about um, some important topics still, even though I'm also working out. So today, workout first. So today, our workout is focused on upper body strength and posture. So for a couple of these, I'm going to use some items that I already have, but just because you may not have these items doesn't mean that you can't do the exercise. So I'll show you how I would do it without the tools that I have. So if you want to stop the video and go get the tools, what I have is a resistance band. I got a set of resistance bands on Amazon, and the one I'm using is extra light. And then I also have these little bags of sand. They're weights that go inside a big leg weight contraption, but I thought I'll just use these because I can hold them easily in my hand. They're 2 pounds. So if nothing else, go get a can of soup and get 2 cans of soup and you can hold that in your arms. So we're going to start with some wall push-ups and we're going to do that for 6 minutes and then we'll move on from there. With this one, you don't need to have any tools. You just need a wall. So unfortunately, I am not going to face you for this. You're going to have to look at my backside. And I'm going to do wall push-ups in front of this beautiful picture, which I might add, this picture here is an extremely old painting that came from my grandparents' house, and it was not framed or anything. So when we moved here to this new house, I bought one of those floating frames. And I thought, oh, it would be really nice if I was hoping it came with glass in front of it, but it didn't. So I thought it would be really nice if that, if it came with glass. And my husband said, why don't you create that? So what I did was I had some like plexiglass, I guess it's called. And it's from another frame that's the same size. And I super glued it ever so carefully to the frame. And then on top of the corners, my husband cut some little borders out of natural wood. These are just those trims that you have that go like around the floor, around the bottom of your floor. If you have linoleum, he cut them. So it's very nice. I love it. Okay. So the topic that I want to talk about today is it's a couple things. I want to start off by talking about the managing my thoughts, like just the battle between my ears. I mean, I feel like that's something I talk about daily, but I wanted to share a little bit about how that plays into stroke recovery and the not even knowing whether what I'm dealing with on a daily basis is depression or fatigue. And I talked to my psychiatrist about that. So we'll get started with first. I want to talk about a line that I heard this morning that is amazing. I thought it says, somebody said this morning. Some of the worst things I ever experienced never actually happened. And I'll start the exercises with that. Oh, I forgot. We need a timer. So let's do the timer. Sorry, I did not plan ahead here. Okay, so we're starting off with 6 minutes for the wall push-ups. So the some of the worst things I ever experienced never actually happened. I can tell you as I start my wall push-ups, you want your feet to be hip distance apart, and you want your arms to be shoulder distance apart. Now, you can do one of two things here. You can either put your arms angled out so your elbows are going out when you do your wall push up, or you can put your hands, your fingers pointing straight up and have your elbows go down for your wall push-ups. And that's what I typically do because this is the best way to replicate for me um, a yoga pose, which is when you do, I can't think of the name of it, but when you go from through the dogs, you go through the down dog, up dog, that kind of thing. Usually in yoga, you keep your elbows in, and that works this back side of your upper arm. And that's my hangy place. So that's what I do. Some of the worst things that I experienced never actually happened. So what one thing that I think about, and this is not something I've never said out loud on my podcast, and it's on purpose. I don't like to talk about my marriage, my not the current marriage, but um, my previous marriage, because I don't think that it's fair for me to talk about anything that happened in my previous marriage. It's not fair to him. So I'm going to focus on myself, really, and my feelings during that time, which I think my audience could benefit from hearing. Anytime I can talk about it, I can articulate the hard stuff. I think it's worth talking about. And when I was going through the decline in my marriage, there was a lot of stuff going on between my ears that wasn't happening in the marriage. It was my unhappiness and mine alone. It was my choice to not talk about it with the person that I had the issues with. And I remember driving home one day, and I was so unhappy, and I was so trapped inside my own head that I thought to myself, should I just run my car into a tree? That's what I was thinking. Um, and I hate to say that and have like my family hear it or my ex-husband hear it or my children hear it. But I think it's important to be honest about the places that I've been inside, right? The worst things that ever went through my mind, um, that never actually happened. It's just the stories that I was telling myself. Side note, this is kicking my ass. My arms are killing me. I'm going to move them so they point out now. That didn't help. I'm going to move them back to pointing down. Holy crap. If it's getting hard, move your legs closer to the wall. Oh, yeah, that's better. Oh, my goodness. I don't want to get as sore as I am today in my legs. So, so I thought that, that's the honest truth. I felt so trapped, and I wasn't trapped. I could at any time make a decision to change my life, to do whatever I needed to do for myself to make myself happy. But yet in my mind, I was trapped. The worst place I ever went was in my head. You know, I felt like my life was over. I felt like nothing was ever going to change. And it wasn't. Nothing was going to change unless I did something about it. And I was afraid. I I can't tell you what I was afraid of because my ex-husband was not physically abusive at all. I was afraid of the unknown. If I changed what was happening in the moment, then things were going to be unknown. So what's better or what's worse, I should say, being unhappy or being uncertain? And eventually I couldn't, I didn't have a choice. Or it felt like the only choice I had was to change because if I didn't, I was I was going to die. I was going to be emotionally destroyed. And when I say I was going to die, that I shouldn't say that. That's an exaggeration. The only time that I felt that I was actually dying, and I was at the end of my alcoholism, right before I got sober, and of course when I had my stroke. But we're not talking about that today. Um, I felt so emotionally unstable that it felt like I was going to die. Like my anxiety was absolutely through the roof. And I didn't know what to do about it. Um, we're going to do the next thing we're going to do for exercises is our resistance band. So we're gonna take the resistance band. If you have one, you can take the resistance band up at chest level, and we're just going to squeeze our shoulder blades together. That's it. Just squeezing our shoulder blades together, and I bet you this is gonna feel good on my back. I'm always sore in my upper back. So we're going to do this for 6 minutes as well. So in that state of mind, I went to multiple counselors over the course of my marriage. Um, and I wanted somebody to fix me. I didn't necessarily want somebody to fix my marriage. I wanted somebody to help me get out of my marriage, I think. Um, because I had had it, I guess. I think I'm going to put the resistance band down and I'm going to do this without the resistance band because it's already getting hard and we still have like 5 minutes. So I'm just squeezing my elbows together behind me. So I remember going to one of my marriage counselors, and whenever they would ask me about my drinking, I would lie. I would say, "Oh, I just have a couple at night," or something like that, and then I would never go see them again. And that was a trend. I did that every time if somebody asked me about my drinking because I did not want the problem to be me. The problem was my husband. I mean, that's what I was thinking back then. The problem was my husband. Um, and I know today that the problem was not my husband. I know today the problem was both of us. The problem was the marriage. And so I just want to be clear because, as I said, I don't want to ever throw him under the bus. But I do want to talk about what it was like for me. So that's what sticks out in my head today when I think about um, the worst places that I ever went or the worst experiences I ever had. I never actually happened. That's what comes to mind for me, because that pain that I was experiencing, that idea that I should just run my car into a tree, like how could it have been that bad? What it was like, I felt the world caving in around me. And it wasn't. The world was just moving on. The world was just being the world. And I was the one who was just collapsing on myself. Um, my thoughts, I was thinking this morning, one of my meetings was talking about step one and how your life becomes unmanageable. And I was thinking, for a really long time, my thoughts were unmanageable. I had no tools for how to manage what was going on between my ears. And there was no counseling that was going to fix it. I was in another world. Even when I got sober in the beginning and I went to an addiction therapist, I went to an addiction therapist for 2 entire years. And even then, like when I think back, I think about I was talking about stuff. I was talking about experiences, like stuff that happened. This is what happened. This is how I handled it. This is how I felt. This is my childhood. This is people who hurt me. This is people who I hurt, and all of these things. And it wasn't until I got through the steps that of AA that I really got a level under all of that. Uh, I started to actually see inside myself. I actually started to see the stories that I was spinning as stories that I was spinning, that the world around me was not actually the world that was inside my head. Let me see how far we are here. Oh, yeah, we're good. We're good. Next exercise. The next thing we're going to do is overarm raises. So this is where I'm going to use my weights, and I'm just going to use them for as long as I as I can. Um, and I have a feeling it's not going to be very long because I do this exercise sometimes in the evenings before I go to bed. But what we're going to do is raise our arms slowly to shoulder height, straight, right? So down from my hips and then just straight outwards like a T. And again, if you don't have weights, I promise you this gets hard in not very many, not very many minutes. So we're going to do this for 4 minutes. So when I got sober and worked the steps, I finally was able to start deciphering between what's really happening and what is a story in my head. When I was working, and my boss helped me with this, when I was working, I thought people were out to get me. I thought people didn't like me. Um, I thought I can't deal with this person, so I need to leave this company. There was a time when I actually walked into my boss's office and I was like, if I have to keep working with this person, I'm leaving. And later, he did tell me, don't let anybody else ever make you walk away. And that was really good advice. But at the time, I was so blind to my frustration and my anger. I was just really frustrated and I didn't want to feel that way. So I wanted to walk away. I wanted to leave. And that was not the solution. The solution should have been to talk to the person that I was frustrated with, period. That was but I was afraid. Once again, was it worse to be unhappy or uncertain? Because if I were to say something to this person, I'm uncertain what would happen. I can look in retrospect at that relationship and understand that probably only good things would have happened had I raised my voice and said something. But I was just afraid. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being afraid. But what I've learned through sobriety and through the steps is how to raise my voice and say something. And by raise my voice, I don't mean raise my voice and be loud. I mean raise my voice and outward. Instead of having it just be between my ears, I can actually say something and not be so scared. I have new perspective on my role as a human among human beings. And if I feel uncomfortable, the best thing for me to do is lean into that and do the thing that I'm afraid of doing. And so here's the challenge. If I do the thing quickly to eliminate the discomfort, am I working too quickly and I'm taking action when action was not necessary? That's a hard one because a lot of times I have noticed that if I do nothing, the thing will work itself out. So being able to decide whether something needs to be done or not, that's hard. And I feel the best way for me to figure that out is to a lot of times put it in my guide box, write it down on a little tiny piece of paper and put it in a box. It doesn't have to be some fancy God box. You can put it in your sock drawer and shut it. That's just fine too. But write the thing down and put it somewhere, and the next day write it down again and put it in that same place. And it's a process of letting something go, and if it can't be let go, then probably something needs to be done about it. I have a feeling that we're done with arm raises. I don't think we are. We're going to keep going. Um, so it's a hard one, and I'm definitely not an expert at that. But I can tell you that regardless of if I approach, I don't want to make it sound like I'm causing a disturbance and causing an argument or something. But if I decide to approach the individual that I have a problem with, or I decide not to approach the person that I have a problem with, I still have actions that I can take. And for me, that's going to a meeting and talking about it, because I don't want anything to ever bring me to a drink, because that's not an option. I can talk to my psychiatrist, depending on who I have a problem with. I can either talk to my husband, I can talk to my mom, my sister, my friend. I have an awesome friend who I can call, and if I don't want advice, I can just say I just need to vent, and she'll just listen to me. And I was talking to my psychiatrist about that today. Like, sometimes you want to talk to somebody, but you don't want advice. And sometimes you want to talk to somebody and you want them to fix it for you. And it's always nice to start off a conversation with somebody if you do want to vent and say, can I tell you something? I don't want advice. I just need an ear. Or can I tell you something? I really need your advice. And there's a difference, and that helps them know what your expectations are of them. Okay. Next, we're doing chest openers. So this is interlacing fingers behind our back and do gentle neck turns. So I'm going to turn this way for you to see what I'm doing here. And I'm just raising I'm locking my fingers the best I can. I can't lock them and push my palms together the way that they do in yoga. So I just grab a few fingers and I straighten my elbows, and then I pull up a little bit, and then I'm turning my neck to the left, and then I'm slowly turning my neck to the right, and then I'm going to relax. So again, I'm interlacing my fingers, straighten my elbows, and pull up. And then I look to the left, and then I look to the right, and then I relax. So the second thing that I wanted to talk about, that was item number one. That was 20 minutes of item number one. Now I wanted to talk about depression versus fatigue. And this is probably its own episode, honestly. But I did want to talk about it because it's what has been going on in my head today. I've really been battling with feeling sorry for myself. And I think that there's a couple reasons for it. I think one reason is because the weather's been so cold and crappy that I haven't been able to go outside. And I love to go outside. And I did get to go outside today with Autumn, and we took a walk down to the frozen water, but it was still nice to be outside. So I think that's one of the problems. I think one of the problems for me between my ears, this goes back to what's happening between my ears. So this is all related. Um, Even though I feel like depression versus fatigue is something that's a bigger topic that I could go on and on about. Um, I think that this week, my brother is on a beautiful vacation in a beautiful place where it's warm and there's palm trees without giving any locations. And my sister is on a vacation in a beautiful location where there's palm trees as well. And um, I can't go on vacation to a place where there's palm trees. And I immediately remember or tell myself, require myself to, what's the answer? How can I feel better? My response tends to be, what can make me feel better right now? And I immediately and obviously recognize the gratitude in my life, and that I am, now that we've moved, on permanent vacation. So it doesn't matter where they are. I'm here in this beautiful location that is permanent vacation. And I need to remember that. And I talked about that gratitude yesterday. And because I'm able to find gratitude, then that leads me to believe that what I'm experiencing is fatigue and not depression. And I talked to my psychiatrist about it. This, how do I know? And one thing that she told me to do is get out a piece of paper and write down what fatigue feels like and write down what depression feels like. And then you'll know what you're feeling. And I was like, okay. So as I was just sitting there and thinking about what I would write down, I realized that if I was depressed, because I have felt depressed more times than I can count in my life, um, if I was, I wouldn't be able to look forward to things. I wouldn't be able to get excited about things. And there's a lot of things I'm excited about right now. And I'm going to tell you what those are. So, one thing I'm excited about is that I'm putting together a quilt for my old boss, the one I talk about all the time. I'm putting together a quilt because he had a new baby girl. And so I'm finishing that quilt over the next few days, and that's exciting. I'm looking forward to doing this week of exercise and podcast because it's something new and it seems to be working fine. It's a little harder to think, but I think I'm doing fine. I think I'm doing great, actually. Um, I'm also excited about, I'm going to go to Celebrate Recovery tonight. And I'm really excited to go there because I want to go and I want to learn about how the Bible and how the people there correlate the 12 steps with God, if your higher power is in fact God. And I talk about how my higher power is several things. It's a bucket of things, including my concept of God. So that's just a couple examples of things that I'm kind of, not kind of, we don't like to say kind of, that I'm excited about. So that's positive. So I really feel that what I'm experiencing right now is fatigue. Um, I think so. My appointment with her today ended with just talking about what it feels like to have a headache every day. We have um one last exercise, and this one is lifting our knees slowly, adding opposite arm swing for coordination. I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk and do this at the same time, but we're going to try. So this is what I'm doing. Kind of like yesterday, I'm lifting my knee up so that it's perpendicular. I'll turn to the side so that it's perpendicular to my body. And then I'm lifting my opposite arm up like that. And then I'm going to switch back and forth, kind of like I'm a soldier. Um, so we're just going to do that until I close out here. But so I was talking about what does it feel like to have a headache since June of 2021 and how I need to give myself grace for if I do feel a depression due to that, it's okay and it's understandable. Um, for those of you that are dealing with chronic pain like me, do you complain about it? That's an interesting question. Like for example, my niece who listens to the podcast. Do you complain about your headache? Because she also deals with migraines. Do you complain about it or do you deal with it? Do you figure out, okay, this is what I have to do. I feel a headache. This is what I have to do. Um, and luckily, my niece has found a solution for her migraines. So they are much less than they used to be, thank goodness. No matter what I do, I cannot get rid of my headache. It will never, it will never go away. Um, and I don't complain about it. There are times that I will say something to my husband. I will say, yeah, my head really hurts today. That kind of general acknowledgement. But I really don't say, I find myself walking towards the computer. um, but I really don't say, like, cry or say, I'm tired of it. I just want it to go away. And there are times that, when I was talking to my psychiatrist, I actually wanted to cry, but I couldn't. I couldn't cry because I thought it's not going to do anything if I cry. And, but I realized as I said that to her, I was like, yeah, but if I do it, it's processing the emotion. It's not going to get rid of the pain, but I can be sad and say I'm sad. And that's one part of acknowledging the existence of that emotion. But if I still hold it in and I don't cry, which I've cried many a time on this podcast, and I haven't lately, I don't think. um, and I think that actually crying, I'm a professional crier, and I think actually crying is so freaking healthy for me, and I haven't been doing it. So maybe maybe I can get it out somehow. I think the best thing I can do is probably listen to a sad movie. But we'll see. I mean, I'm going to continue to talk about it and see what happens. I will end with this. I went to my stroke recovery group today after my psychiatrist. See, I'm just recovery, recovery, recovery all the time. And I shared with them this this topic. I shared with them that I've been feeling sad and I don't know what to do about it. Or I don't know if there's anything I can do. I guess what I wanted was just, yes, we feel sad too sometimes. There's a guy in there that I just absolutely adore. He knows who he is if he listens to my podcast. But he came into the stroke recovery group. I mean, yeah, the stroke support group about a half a year after I did. And he came in and started bawling, just like I came in and started bawling. And he said, I feel that way too. Today, he said, I feel that way too sometimes. And that's it. That's all I needed. Yes, I probably still need to cry, but to actually have somebody who's in stroke recovery the same length of time that I am and says, yes, there are times that I feel sorry for myself. There are times that I feel like I just want it to go away. I just want the pain to go away. He has chronic pain also. His just happens to be in his leg and mine is in my head. Um, and he just confirmed like, yeah, I get really upset sometimes. And I don't know, that's why I come here. One other guy said, can you look at it as a sacrifice? And at first, I wasn't quite sure what he was saying. But then I realized that's what I come here for the podcast, is so that I can look at my pain as something that can help another person. And at the end of the day, if nothing else, that saves me from feeling like it's for nothing. So I'm really grateful that somehow I came up with this bizarre idea to start a podcast account and share about my recovery, because it gives me purpose. And when I'm feeling really in despair sometimes, I kind of crawl back into hope. And so I just want to thank you for clicking play. And with that, I will talk to you next time.